Yes, Arnath, Pushpin, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, thanks for confirming. Okay, so hi everyone. Good evening uh, to this live session of the getting started with competitive programming. So this is the another type of session which we are running for this term. So one session is running by the PMRF TAs. So that is actually for the practice purpose, and this session actually we are running for the solution of graded programming assignments, which you are getting in the graded programming. That in this session we will discuss the solution or logic or approach for these problems. Uh, Due to some reasons, Professor Neeldhara ma'am is actually not joining these sessions and not available. So we all are me, and we have TA Puspendra and P Sarnath. So all three we will take the sessions and we will discuss the solution of graded programming. So today, now as you know that week 1 and week 2 deadline is over. So today we will discuss the graded programming problems of week 1 and week 2 both. And we also explain the graded programming problems of week 3. Yeah, so this is the agenda of this session. If anyone have any query before starting the session, you can ask. Any question? Okay. So if there is no question, so we can start to discuss the problems. Yeah, P Sarnath.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, Sarnath. So can you start from the week 1?
Yeah, sure. I believe there's a comment, like a question. Ma'am won't join today. That's what sir said.
Yeah, Dhruv is asking. Okay, yeah, ma'am is actually not will not join. She is not available due to some reason. So we will try to ask to the prof to join the upcoming sessions. Okay. So, but today is she's not joining. Yes, Anna, you can start.
So window.
Yes, visible.
So let's actually have a quick overview of the questions of week 1 and week 2, the which we have people have we have some. So this is the week 1 question. So anyone like hope you have solved the question or you at least read the question. Any idea how would you understand this question? Can actually give you a chat. So how was this question? Like any feedback? Was it hard or did you get the question right? Yeah, the screen is the screen visible? Like, okay, nice. Yeah, sure. So for the others, like so what is this question about? Like this says that Yudhishthira and Duryodhana are the two brothers who wanted to play a game to acquire the kingdom of Hastinapuram. So they decided to play an analytical game instead of a huge war, which can cost many lives. So this is the setup of the question. So they wanted to play a algorithmic or analytical game, which no what to say. So the let's go to the game setup. We have it's given that Yudhishthira has n astras which have ability values a1, a2 to an. So we have some astras like in an array maybe, right? So array which actually has some. So this is an array which actually has some values a1 to an for Yudhishthira. And for Duryodhana, again, he has an array, literally, which actually has b1, b2, so on to bn. So what did they ask is if Yudhishthira and Duryodhana fight with each other, they say that the resultant will become like a1 minus b1 and b1 minus a1 respectively for Yudhishthira and Duryodhana. That's what it was given. So basically, the astras cancel out each other, and they basically the powers reduce. So if suppose any astra is smaller or equal, lesser than equal to 0, then the astra fails and that guy is gonna lose. This was the question. To anyone, like, shall I repeat the question, or did you understand it? The question. You can actually be interactive. This is yeah. So you will understood this question. So what could be the natural algorithm, or what do you think it could be the way to solve this? Any idea on how to solve this in a practical way, or what is happening here? Comments? Are anyone trying? Like, if so, then you can raise your hands too, so that like I can wait for you, and I can go to the answer maybe. A game tree. So what do you mean by a game tree? Like, something like, suppose Yudhishthira plays a move. So in some sense, this is gonna be move to lose. But this actually doesn't need a game tree, right? Because we are dealing with arrays. Yeah, naturally we can have something like a game tree and try to solve this, but we have just arrays. Basically, the astras will fight each other and they cancel out their powers. So what could be the natural idea? Yeah, should we see whose astra is stronger? Yeah. So how could we see that? Like, whose astra is stronger? So that's kind of very close to the solution. So we usually see who has the better astra. So what should be the answer then? Who has the better astras? In some sense, we have n astras here and n astras here for Duryodhana and Yudhishthira. So how can we measure the strength?
Use a loop, find the difference, and assign y or d for each.
Yeah, can you repeat it? Like,
use a loop, then
yeah,
find the difference between both values, then assign y or d for each, whichever wins, which is greater.
yeah, a difference of what exactly? That's
The array is each element of the array is 0. The first array is 0 index value, and the second array is 0 index value.
Give me an example. Maybe that will be like
a1 minus b1.
A1 minus B1. Or like say, I mean, numbers are like, that's even better too. Suppose I have A equals 1, 2, 3, and B equals, suppose say 1, 5, 2. So who is going to win here? Suppose this is Yudhishthira and this is Duryodhana. YD. spinner. So who will be winning here? Duryodhana. Why Duryodhana? If Duryodhana. Second was since we are after we need just total astra power is greater. Yeah, exactly. So that's the answer for this. Like whichever. So this is a very easy question to be honest. So whichever array has a higher sum, they will most probably have it. They not most probably. They will actually. They are going to win it. So in some sense, this test case we have to first get the test cases, and then for Yudhishthira, if we have suppose 1,2, and for Duryodhana, if we have 1,1,1. Here we see both the people have same sum as 3. So Yudhishthira has a sum of 3 and Duryodhana has a sum of 3. So the result will be a draw. So did you understand this? So can we write some, and we should always have constraints we should always check the constraints of the question before moving to the solution. So that's a very good practice. So can someone say what's the constraint of this problem? Programming assignments are actually. Let me just go through the constraints once. No need to take modulus basically, but we share this screen instead. The constraints are actually, we could see that there are 2 into 10 power 3 test cases on a whole. So, and then each NNM can have, no, what to say, 50, right? Yeah. So the constraints are actually so test cases are like 0 less than 3 less than 2 into 10 cube and 0 less than n comma m less than 50. And n can be a very big number, which is 10 power 9, both the n and m's. So you should always have this when we are about to solve any competitive programming question. So what do you think the algorithm which was proposed, how much time is going to take, time complexity? Of the proposed algorithm. So we just said sum of array 1 is what is the complexity of calculating sum of array? So this is what we have to compare. This is the only step we have. If I go to the next slide, this O of n, right? So we don't do anything, like leave the test cases, because test cases are like, it's just for the input sake. So only if I see this algorithm, it's just O of n. So with O of n, we can actually solve for, like, take a sum of 10 power 9, right? So it's going to take at least almost, for the higher test cases, it will take 10 power 9, because we have to calculate the sum of 10 power 9 elements. So any code, if suppose we have our constraints as 10 power 13 or 14, then we have to think about our O of n solution. But as we have 10 power 9 as our constraint, we can say that our O of n solution works. For example's sake, if I have this, like I have an input case, right? So let me, is my screen visible? My screen is visible, right? My VS code, like, is it visible, or should I just... So it is visible, right? Yeah. So let me actually try to get one input case where this has 2000 test cases and very less number of elements. This doesn't have more than maybe 10 or something. So let's go for a higher test case. So which this has totally, the higher will be almost 10 power 9 elements. So like, let's check that. So Python 3, right? So this, so it just goes to output 4.txt and it actually prints everything. So do you understand this? Printing. Yeah, it's just printing if the output is same or not. So that's the point. That's what it's doing. So we could see that we have actually all the test cases passed here. So did you understand this question? What's happening? How can we go algorithmically and approach the question? Is it fine? Yeah. So can we move to the next question now? Yeah, sure. So now let's go to the next question. So week 2, constructing gopuras. The Cholas are known for constructing beautiful temples with huge gopurams tower. So one of the descendants named Rajaraj Chola is an expert in constructing temples and gopuras with minimal resources. Here the resources they used to construct the temples, like they used granites. The king had finished constructing the temple, but is very confused about the construction of gopuras, as we wanted to finish it as fast as possible and wanted minimum number of gopurams. So your task is to find the minimum number of gopurams that can be constructed. So what is given here is, so we would be getting a array basically. So we will be getting an array of gopura sizes. Suppose 5, 3. It's an array of, like, say a time series array. We cannot modify the position of the elements. So 4, 2, etc. So now with the flow of the array, we need to construct gopuras such that these are like granites. These are the size of the granites. each element of an array. And we have to construct gopuras with these granites, and they should be minimum in number. So do you understand this question first? Or should I repeat the question? Do you get it? Like we are getting a flow of granites from somewhere, and we have to place it immediately on some of the gopuras. We don't have any other choice, and the number of gopuras built should be minimum. That's the question. Do you get it? Or if not, like I'll just go to the next. For example, what we are given is we are given n granites in a certain order, and our task is to build gopurams using them. When two granites are one of the top each other, the upper granite must be smaller than the lower granite. This is the main constraint we have. Suppose we are given like 5, 3, 2, 4, 6. We can place the 5th granite here. Then we can place the 3rd granite and 2nd granite. Now we can't place the 4th granite. So what should we do? We actually wanted to start a new gopuram, 4. And now again, we can't even place 6 here. So we have to start the new gopuram. So how many gopurams are basically built here? So total gopurams, yes, 3. So the total number of gopurams basically built are 3. So this is what the question is. Do you understand it? So if not, I'll have a pictorial representation. So suppose we have our input as 538,215. So what can we have is we first place the 5 here. So what will happen is we have to place the 5 at the first, then place 3, 5, then 3, then make a, I believe there's no 5 here, just there's an error basically, 38215. If this is the input, then what should we do is, so first we place the 3, that is for us, there's a small error here basically. Don't consider this 5. We have only 38215 as our input. Now, if we start constructing, we'll place the 3, the granite 3 in the first, then we'll place 8. As 8 cannot be placed above 3, so we'll place it in the different gopura. Then as 2 can be placed at 3, we can place, and then 5 cannot be placed above 2, so we move to the 8, and then 1 we can place it to. So how many total gopuras are needed for this? How many total gopuras, minimum number of gopuras we have for this? 2. So this is our question. Like this is our, no, what to say, setup now. So now any algorithm you can think of. So anyone can try this. Any algorithm that we can think of. How can we frame this actually as an answer? How to get this? Yes, someone have unmuted.
To search for the on which we can put.
Yeah. We can't hear you. Can you be?
That can be done effectively using binary search.
Yeah, no need of binary search. Normal, very normal algorithm first. Let's go from the basics. Let's stick to the basics.
Constraints are there like 10 to the power 9. So we need to.
Yeah, we have our constraints, but what is the natural algorithm? We'll leave binary search now. We'll come back to it later. But what is the natural algorithm we can think of now?
linear search.
What can we do then? What should we search actually here? What actually search this here? Why should we search?
We are
What should we
searching
search?
that granite size upon just bigger than that
Yeah,
we have
exactly.
in our hand.
So a very small algorithm can be like, if suppose the array is empty, then we are going to add it. Else we'll search basically just what to say, the granite which could fit here literally, right? That's what I believe. Someone was saying, Neha was saying, right? Did you understand it? Iterate the list and increment a count after seeing a number greater than the previous time. Exactly. So just iterating, and if we have, what to say, an element which is just above the, is just greater. For example, if suppose 5, 3, this is fine. We have 3, 5, 2, 8, 1. So what we'll do is first we'll have to we'll write a 3, and then we have to find the element which is just above, what to say, which is just below, sorry, which is just below 3, and that is actually 2. So we'll have 2, and then we'll find the element which is just below 2, that is 1. So 1. Now again, that's it. We have no more elements. Now find the element, like the next element, which is suppose say 5 here, right? 5. Then we need to find the next below element to 5. We have no other element left, so it's done. And at last we have 8. So the minimum number of cobras that can be constructed is 8. So do you understand this algorithm, right? Everyone? So it's 3. For this, it should be 1 only. Do you understand this? For example, 9, 10, 2, 1, 4. So what could be the possible answer for this? So any idea like what could be the possible answer for this array? Yes, it is going to be 2. So because 9 and then 10, we have 2, 1, and then 4. So this is how we can construct it. So what was the problem? As Neha said, it's not going to work. I mean, this is a Python implementation for that code. But what is this problem with this code? It's the constraints, as she said. Because we have n into 2, the algorithm we mentioned. What is the time complexity of the algorithm actually? Neha, can you just say me why the linear? Why the linear search wasn't working? Why? What's the time complexity of the algorithm? Can someone see?
For binary search, if we are doing it is n log n.
Yeah, for the linear search then?
N square.
Yeah, so of n square, exactly.
Order
This
of n
algorithm,
square.
this algorithm takes O of n square. So what can we do? Possible fixes. We can do binary search. So I'll just run sample. Like I go to P2. Now, if I just go to the code here. So if I try to run the first algorithm, which it's going to take time, and it's not even going to say me the answer because it's a very large input, to be honest. If you see, it's 2 into 10 power 5. So it's not going to give me the answer. So yes, so because it was doing at this point, this binary search, this line was actually keep on working and it did not result anything. So what can we do? So for this, we have implemented something called bisect left. What this bisect left does is, using binary search, as the list is going to be sorted, like, even though the list is not going to be sorted here, we are going to search the just minimum element with respect to the given element. For example, 5, 3, 8, 4, and 2. If we are going to have it, as we have this list, basically, we are going to find the just minimum element in this list. That is going to be, we could see that it is here using binary search. You can understand, right? We will find the element as 4. We'll divide the list into 2, and then we'll check that this part is going to be the one, and again we divide the list, and we actually get that 4 is the one which is just below 5. And we basically store it as the variable index, and then we'll that's the same thing. Then we don't have any other change here. So as this process takes log n times, the whole process actually comes out to of n log n, which satisfies the constraint. Do you understand? Suppose, let me just code. So I could see that immediately I could get the result for that big input. So do you understand this? So now, as Sir said to actually explain the week 3 question, let me also explain that here. So this is the question, right, in the portal 2. Am I right, or is it something else? The programming question 1. So this is the question, right? Week 3 programming question 1. So what it does say? Gone and Kilwa are in a mission to find out Jing, who is a great hunter. On their way, they are stuck in an island called Greed Island, where there are a lot of math involving games, and one of the iterate the list and increment account after seeing a number greater than previous number. Can you be more specific which question, or like is it the second question? Not exactly the count. We actually append it to a list and then we'll find the length of the list, or it's good to even count it. Doesn't matter. Anyways, it's actually, but we need actually the number of, what to say, we are referring to the question 2, we are here to count the number of towers. So we actually append it to a list and then find the length of the list so that it's going to be easier. Or you can actually have an incremental count and then you can do that too. That's also fine. So here we had like Gordon Kilwa on a mission to find out Jing, who's a great hunter. On their visit, on their way, they are stuck in an island called Greed Island, where there are a lot of math involving games, and one have to collect magical cards to win the game. If one collects all the cards after playing all the games, they win. To find out Jing, one have to win somehow, but was stuck in the game. So what actually this says, the game rules, there is a huge electrical box which produces some random numbers. In one move, you can do the following actions. So basically imagine there is a huge box which produces some random number, right? Example, say we have 1, 2, 3. This is the random number which it produced. And what are the operations that can be done in one process is remove any digit of the number. It's acceptable that the number before the operation has exactly one digit. After the operation, it is empty. Yes, it is acceptable. Or add one digit to the right. These actions may be performed in any order or any number of times. So basically, we can what we can do is we can remove any number from this, or we can add any number to this. So this is basically one action, right? So note that if after deleting some digit from a number, it will contain the leading digit, then they will not be deleted. Example, if you delete 301, the resulting digit 3, basically you have to keep these things in your mind, that the trailing zeros should be counted. And what is the question is, you have to perform minimum number of actions so that the number is a power of 2. So do you understand the question? The resulting number must not have leading. The resulting number should not have leading zeros. That's the question. For example, basically we can do any action, any number of actions, and how many times we want, but we need minimum number of actions such that the number is 2 power k. So for example, here we see that 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, we can remove 1 and 3, and it's power of 2, because 2 is 2 power 1, which is 2, and the minimum number of actions to do is 2. We cannot do in any other, like we can do maybe say suppose 1, 2, 3, we can add 4 and remove these 3 digits, and the number of actions are 4, but it's not the minimum. We see here with the two operations, we basically get the number which is to the power. Do you understand the question, right? Or it's ambiguous or something? Like, should I repeat the question once more?
No, sir.
Do you understand the question? Like, no,
Yes, okay.
This is okay, fine, right? So try this question in the after the deadline. Let me say you the interesting algorithm. You have to, of course, implement. The solution must be greedy, as this week involves greedy algorithms. There is a greedy technique which is being involved here. So you can try that and have fun. So the other questions will be explained by the other team. Thank you.
Thanks, Anand. I'll share my screen.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Sir, I want to say something regarding the language which is used to design this problem statement. It's really very vague, and काफी बार पढ़ना पड़ता है प्रॉब्लम को उसको समझने के लिए, और कई बार it is not the corrected one. मतलब मेरे को ऐसा लगता है कि nobody has checked that whether it is a correct statement or not. In some problem statements, you can see that wherever you are giving test cases and if you are explaining the test case, then the previous one is just copied. So it is just not good. As we are having our students to take this course, so it doesn't look good. That I want to say.
Yeah, okay, Neha. So we are noting down this points, and we will just keep in mind.
And similarly with that quiz also, that questions are not really very clear. That language should be transparent so that we can understand the things.
Okay, so can you just give any specific question where things are not clear?
So actually, now I'm traveling and I'm attending this meeting also. I have
Okay, so if
given the
you have any
feed.
doubt in any question to understand, you can post on the forum. So we will clarify if you
So
are not.
nothing is answered on the forum.
No, we are handling the forum. We are giving the answer. Can you just post again? Which
Now
forum you are using?
that you can see a problem in practice. Practice जो problems हैं उसमें there are so many errors and sometimes it is not complete also.
Okay, you are talking about the practice
And
theory.
yes, and one question which is that pool question जो था first week का, where the people are standing on a pool and they are going to rotate clockwise, and there has been given that array indexing will be from 1 and the answer is coming by taking array indexing by 0. So such ambiguities create just get
Have you
a
checked?
lot of
Have you
time.
checked the explanation of that problem? So I think in explanation we mentioned that the zero indexing we are using.
You are in constraint. You have written that one indexing will be there.
No, actually, in
answer is coming by
in
the zero
general case,
indexing.
when we just discuss this type of scenario, we give these things with the one index. Actually, that is not actually the index.
So in constraints, it has been given that I and j will be always greater than 1, greater than or equal to 1. So at that time, we need to make some calculations to make that array indexing by or to get the answer which is by that equals to 1. But actually, the answer is coming by an array index equals to 0.
Right,
Yeah, so that,
Neha. So actually, that was actually also raised on the forum
Actually,
as well.
the
This,
whole day
meaning
get
I'm
tested to do this, and
right,
then just by luck we are saying that ki chalo zero se try kar lete. It is coming good.
right, right,
So
right, right.
that
I agree.
and many
It
questions are
was
not clear.
okay. Do you happen
So
to recall those questions or any of the questions that we would be discussing?
in
Do you?
week 1, this week 3 or week 2 के तो practice questions दोनों wrong है.
Okay.
So I just suggest that please get it checked before uploading.
Right. Sure. But just out of curiosity, you are posting your questions on the forum, and when I'm asking
I'm not
about
posting. I'm the mentee of say some 298 students. So every time I'm getting called, this question में ये नहीं समझ आ रहा, ये question में ये समझ नहीं आ रहा. So it creates a
sorry, you're not. Your voice is not clear.
Actually, I'm the mentor for the around 300 students.
Right.
I'm teaching in some college and I'm mentor for 300 students. I'm asking them to do the things. So what happens? They face problems regarding language. They may face problem regarding this incomplete sentences. So, so we are facing that type of things.
Okay. So when you say forum, just out of curiosity, are you suggesting the Discord forum or the Google forums?
No, Google only. I'm not on the Discord, and I don't know my students are doing on Discord or not. But
okay.
I'm talking about this Google.
Okay. Now I understand. Atul, you wanted to add something, but I understand where she's coming from. I think we answered it on the Discord, but I don't think. But yeah.
Yes, sir. So are you also facing difficulty to understand the graded theory assignments?
Yes.
Okay, so can you specify the any question number?
Sir, actually I'm traveling, so I can't go back and see.
So if anyone
I can give you in the feedback form, I will fill and I will give there.
So that is also okay. The feedback form is also okay. But at any time, if you are facing difficulty to understand any problem statement, just post on the this forum. Okay, Discord forum you can also use because most of the students are on the
Discord forum. That invitation is not getting accepted. I think it is very crowdy or something like that. I don't know. A few times I tried to enter in the room, but I couldn't get the entry. So it is,
Okay.
I don't know
So what
problem is that.
I will do, I'll just send the invitation on the Google forum. Okay. So you can
Yeah.
use that invitation to join the Discord also.
Okay.
Okay. Uh, okay. Okay. So we will just keep this thing in our mind to create the questions for the upcoming weeks. But actually, that practice assignment you are talking about, that we have already used in the previous terms also, but we never see this.
And one more thing I want to say, that ki apart from videos, some textual material should be there also. Every time we cannot go back and see the video. Some text should be there, whatever we are
So
doing.
that things we have to talk about the professor if any textual document is available from their sites.
Every time seeing video, that such long videos are there, 45 minutes, 48 minutes, not possible to watch again and again. If you want to refer it back, so some textual material should be there always.
Okay. So that things we will discuss with the prof.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, Pushpin, go ahead.
Sure. I'll share my screen. Okay. So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yes, Neha, this is the problem that you were pointing out. So
Yeah.
let's just first go through the description and for the benefit of everyone else as well. So the problem statement is somewhat like you have a particular sort of a board where participants actually stand, and the idea is that you would be given a number of steps. Each participant would move to this, but to the right on this clockwise direction, and at the end of the particular specific number of rotations, there is sort of an elimination of the specific participants. Now that elimination is based on a rule. So going on to this, so just to explain the rotation, how it works is this is the example which has been used in the problem statement as well. That if there are 18 participants in this particular game, now each step would take the participant number 1 to the index to this particular board, and so on till all the participants have moved to their clock to the right in the clockwise direction. Now the elimination is based on the indexing, which is I plus j mod x. Now the idea behind using that process of I plus j mod x is that when you're given this input, it would be a 2D matrix, and each would have a ith index and jth index.
So please, now you can see here that third constraint.
Yes.
So I just spent my few hours on starting with the 1 index, and I was just mapping from 0 to 1, 1 to 0, and finally I got that it is working with 0 also.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Meaning if I think the examples didn't capture that idea. Even this is, I think, less examples that we have actually for public. If you look, there were some public examples there which would capture that notion of working with the odd number, where this particular positions won't work out.
Both were that 2. So even
Right.
will return same.
I don't think so. Meaning this for odd numbers, even numbers,
No,
it
for
would.
odd number it will not work if we have the indexing with 1.
Okay. Maybe I'll have to look into that. But for this particular example, this would not work. this particular, you would get results different from these. If you're using a one index, it would give you a different result set rather than what you see in the public outputs, meaning public sample case that is available on the problem statement. But yeah, this question was raised on the Discord forum and it was answered there as well. And I think, Atul, we did add an explanation after this confusion was raised. Am I correct?
Yes, yeah, Pushpan, correct. We have added the explanation.
Okay. So the situation is that now, given this problem statement, if you break this particular problem statement down, it's basically a simple array which needs to be rotated, and you have to then place the array within this box and figure out what their columns, their sum is, ith column, ith row, and jth column. So if I use an example that I flatten the row and extract all the peripheral values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into a single array, it all boils down to a single rotation. So if I have this particular array which is being flattened out 1, 2, 3, 6, and if I give in just a one step, then in that case everything would be shifted to in this format. So the problem statement is in its entirety is just rotation of a given array by a specified number of steps. Does anyone have questions on what the core of the problem statement is? By the way, anyone can use their mics. I won't be able to monitor the chat.
What you're asking about, sir?
What I'm asking is the core of the problem statement clear? Meaning, what is the intent behind it? So
Yes.
what you see, the arrangement of the problem, it all boils down to a rotation of a 1D array.
Yes, it's correct.
Fine. Anyone else have any confusion? If nobody answers, I'll take that as a no. Okay. Now if you look at the time complexity of this particular problem statement, when you make the rotation, you have to get the entire values. So this would be like, if you look at it in terms of the rotation, you have to visit all the values there. So it would, the time complexity would be order n. Now, if I go to the solution which was given as part of this, is the extraction of those values. Now, if we were to look into in terms of a two-dimensional matrix, we can assume that it could be m cross n given how we want to figure out the values. But if we are traveling only the outer periphery, it would be 2m plus the number of values. So it's more like the how do you extract the peripheral values without making it utterly complex in terms of how many array indices, your matrix indices you visit. The other crucial point is the amount of steps. Now, if you take this particular step, if I go back to the presentation, if I make 7 rotations, the entire array, this particular array would revert itself to its original position. So if I make 7 rotations here, it would revert back to this original position. So what needs to be taken care of is that you take a mod of with respect to the array indices, meaning the total number of array which has been which is present once you flatten it. And this is what we do here, where we figure out the position from the number of steps we want to take. But before we do that, we need to figure out if the number of steps is 2000, but the number of array indices is like 1000. You have to make sure that you are accounting only the first 1000 rotations. So that's the idea. The next is, from what position do you want to start pushing values to your 0th index? And that's pretty much it. It's a single loop and nothing else more. Any questions? Okay. So let's moving on to the second week 2 question. So this is this problem statement is also pretty much straightforward. What you're given is a list of list of numbers in the form of a one-dimensional array, and you're given a number. Now the intent is that you have to partition those numbers into, you have k partitions with that at most those numbers. So what you get is that if you're given a number 3, then you have to partition the entire array into sub arrays containing only 3 elements. So you have 3 elements here and 3 elements here. Now on those individual elements, you have to apply sorting. That's pretty much it on this particular problem statement as well. Few things that you need to consider is if the number of breaks, meaning your magic number, is greater than the array, it would be a single sort. But if you're given more than if the number of the value for S or B, if it's less than your array size, then you have to sort the array in a piecewise manner, where how would I say? Yeah, that's pretty much it to it. And if I look at this solution, I'll probably go down to the Python solution, because that's the most easy in this particular entire bunch of solutions. You get the list, you figure out what's your last index until which you want to sort, and just sort that number, add it to the list that you want to, as an output, and that's to it. I hope I'm making myself clear. Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, Pushpendra, can you just explain the week 3 problem?
Oh, right.
Just a problem statement only.
Sure. So now the week 3 problem statement is a little different, in this sense that the problem statement has 2 friends who needs to create a project, needs to work on their project. And the way it goes is that each friend, meaning Maverick, would share his schedule, which is a form in a one-dimensional array. The other friend Goose would also share his schedule. Now, the intent is that you need to find an optimal schedule where you're getting the best possible contribution in terms of time for a project. So, and the idea is that because days are like move forward in time, you have to ensure that you can use only one before the other. So if you look at this particular 3583 is a schedule. Now, within the if the optimal schedule that we are trying to formulate for both of the friends, so if 5 and 8, where we are saying that 5 hours within a day and 8 hours within a day, that Maverick is able to produce, devote.
Pushpendra, sorry to
Yes.
interrupt. Can you open this problem on the portal? Because this is main file.
Okay. Okay. Now, first of all, I'll again read out the problem statement from the portal. Maverick and Goose are having a midlife crisis, so they decided to look for a distraction, and so they came up with a plan to work on a project called Operation Freedom. However, like most friends, they are brilliant thinkers, but not brilliant executioner, and they are aware of this tendency. So they create a plan and write down their availability. So each friend would write down their availability and share with you. Now they also realize that initial days are always quite demanding. So they reach out to you to help them find an optimal schedule that can be adopted for the project. Optimal schedule has the following characteristics. The schedule produced needs to ensure that the maximum time is devoted at the start of the project. And the availability schedule has an inherent order, which implies that for a schedule 3583, if the optimal schedule contains 8 and 5 from this schedule, then 5 has to come before 8. It's so because of the it's a day-wise scheduling, you have to ensure that if you're using this particular number of hours from Maverick or Goose, these two don't appear. Fine. And if you look at the problem, this example solution, we have Maverick shared 4 days of his availability for the project.
Excuse me. So in this question also, you just look at the third constraint. Please go up
0
and
to
see
9.
that.
Right.
No,
You mean to say this?
No, go up. This one, third
Yes.
constraint. Availability, yes, this constraint. This is not
Yes.
clear.
So the availability I is like you have an availability schedule for Maverick, right? You have an availability schedule for Goose, right? And I and J can lie because what we are saying is that M can be different and N can be
Number
different.
of days they are available for, these are 1 to 512. So what availability will be? How it could be between 0 to 9?
So M and N are indices, right? Meaning it's the number of days, and 0 to 9 is the number of hours within that day.
Okay. So it is not mentioned anywhere.
Okay.
That creates the confusion actually. has not been given anywhere that number of hours they are available on that particular day.
Right.
And the project schedule जो है उसका जो वो है, that is the for number of days.
M and N are number of days, right?
Yes.
So when we are saying that within the availability schedule, it is 1 to M.
So what availability means? That on a particular day he will be available or not?
Yes.
So that number of days are from 1 to 512. So availability will be also from 1 to 512.
Right.
Actually, that is not clear. And the constraint is availability I and J between 1 to 9, 0 to 9.
So this is actually within the availability schedule, meaning what you're sharing is a schedule, right? And any schedule has you have a number of days here. When we are saying that they have their availability made available, it's first of all, it's about the number of days which can be different for Maverick and for Goose. So if I look at this particular example as well, Maverick has 4 days of availability, right? And your Goose has 6 days of availability. Now within that, what we're saying is that for this particular constraint, this availability is a schedule, meaning it's a one-dimensional array which has values from 1 to M.
M and N are 1 to 512.
Could be, meaning it could be 1 to 4, 1 to 5. It's not about one. It has to be less. It can be less than.
So how it could be from 0 to 9 then?
This is because what you're stating is not about the array. These are not properties of the array. This is property of the element within that array.
Okay.
Are you following me?
Yes.
So what we are saying is that the number of elements within that array can be between 501 to 512. But within that array, that availability schedule that you have been given, the values can have values between 0 to 9. It's this particular 0 to 9 doesn't state anything about what how many days it's there or not, right?
So what this 0 to 9 means?
0 to 9 means it's a value. So if let me give you an example. Go through this example. So if you're given 4, 6, and 5. Now what we look at the input format, M is the number of days for which Maverick has shared his availability.
Yes.
Okay, 4 days. Now N is the number of days for which Goose has shared his availability, which is 6. Fine. And the number of days available for the first phase of the project. So you have 5 days.
Project needs to be completed in 5 days.
Right. Not completed, but the first phase of it. What they're planning to. Fine. Now within those, you have 4 elements within that, right? This is your 4 days availability schedule. 2, 3, 5, 4.
But on day 2 he will be available, right?
Yes, he will be available.
And the next candidate it is on day 8 he will be available, on day 0 he will be available, like this.
No.
Then
see, what you're saying is that let me try to figure out what the confusion here is. So when you say the number of days, what we are saying this particular are the number of days for which Maverick has shared his availability, right?
That I mean to say that on 2, 3, 5, 4 day he will be available.
No. See, M is the number of days, right? The number of days is the attribute of number of days is captured by the size of this array, right? Am I making sense?
Sorry to interrupt. I believe.
Yeah, that is okay. But what does this 2, 3, 5, 4 mean?
I believe 2, 3, 5, 4 is the number of hours which is spent on the day.
Yes.
It is not mentioned anywhere that it is hours.
True.
That is actually.
Yeah.
So in the point 1, Pushpin, just scroll up. So this point one, what is written? The schedule produced needs to ensure that the maximum time is devoted. So I think this time is representing here the hours.
Right, hours. Right. It can be thought
You
of
mean
that
to
way,
say
but it's
that
not
on day one
explicitly.
he is available for 2 hours?
Right. When we are
So
saying
how
maximum
could you
time,
then say कि that project will be run for 5 days and that project का duration क्या है ये कैसे पता चलेगा? Project का duration is in days and you are giving availability in hours. So how it could be then?
so see, first of all, are we clear with the inputs first?
No.
Okay. So first, let's look at if you look at the first line of this input, you have 4, 6, 5. Now, 4 is the number of days for which Maverick has shared his availability, right? So for 4 days, on first day he's available for, first day he's available for 2, 3, 5, and 4. It's not when I say inherent order, it's not like one day after the other. Fine. And the idea is of this particular is that you are given that Goose would have 8 hours, would devote 8 hours, 0 hours, 1 hour, 4 hours, and 2 hours among those 6 days. Fine. Now, if I look at the optimal schedule, it says that 87542 is your right answer. Now, why is that? Because what you're expecting is that it's trying to think how to explain this. So Neha, can you repeat your question again so that I know where you are actually having problem with the to understand? Hello.
Sir, I am in the bus and my stop came. So I just get off the bus and then I will talk to you.
Okay.
Wait a minute. So what I'm saying is, now you are telling that it is in the number of hours the availability has been given. So now the project to complete karna, it is to be completed in 5 days.
Right.
So what we do, that how many hours are required to complete that project. So it is not mentioned there. So what we want, that we want to work maximum number of hours in a day, like that.
It's not asking for maximum number of hours in a day, right? If it so the question is that you have to produce a schedule, right? Where both of their availability is sort of merged and figured out in terms of what order and what.
Now please, can you explain me this output, how this output will come?
So what we are seeing is that we figured out this, that on the first day of the project, meaning what we want, like what we said here, that the days are demanding, what we need is that maximum time is devoted at the start of the project. Now, what we are seeing is that from Bruce's schedule, he has the maximum first availability, which is 8, right? Now, if you look into this, the second availability, the second day of the project, you have 7 there. Now, beyond this, you don't have any more other than shifting to Maverick's availability, which is 5, then 4, then 2. Am I making sense?
This 4 will be from this first guy or second guy?
From Maverick, right? It's explained as here as well. on the third and fourth day of the project from his availability schedule for the third and fourth day respectively, which is this and this.
And in that explanation, it is some. Okay.
And whereas goose, meaning what we said that there would be an inherent order, right? So if you were to say that if this was coming from this, right, 4 would have to be before 7. Am I correct? We looked at this part, this particular statement, that if 5 and 8 are both within the optimal schedule, then 5 has to come before 8. Now, if you look into this particular statement, I'm getting first day of the project, I'm getting an 8 hours of contribution. On the next day of the project, I'm getting 7 hours of contribution, right? And the third day, I have either 2 or from his schedule, from Maverick's schedule, where I can see that I can utilize 5 hours from Maverick, then 4. And then
I'm asking 4 from which? Maverick or that another guy?
Maverick.
4 दोनों में है.
Right.
Maverick
so if you look, so let me go to a PPT there. Let me reuse this.
I think it doesn't matter where you take the 4 from.
It would actually, if you notice the statement. 5, 4.
Sir, it matters in that way that next day also we can take that 4 hours or availability of that guy, which we have not done in the answer.
Okay, so this is yours. Let me text box. Okay, so your statement is that you could have taken 4 from here. Now, if you would have taken here from 8, 4.
No, 8, then 7.
You mean 8, 7?
8, 7, 5.
8, 7.
5.
5.
4. Then again
4.
4 hour availability we are having.
Right. You're saying this comes from goose,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, my point is that if I'm taking this belongs to goose, this belongs to goose, this belongs to Maverick, this belongs to Maverick. Fine. Now, if I'm taking 8, 7, and then I'm taking 4, it would violate your second, your characteristics of the optimal schedule. That if 4 from this argument, you will have 4 and 7. Now, if 4 and 7 are part of that optimal schedule, then 4 has to come before 7, right?
Okay.
So this would have to be like 4, 7. Am I making sense? Because this is the inherent order for goose. You cannot change that optimal schedule.
Okay.
Am I making sense?
Okay, yes.
So that's the reason that if you're taking 7 hours from Goose, you cannot take any other, availability prior to that.
Okay. Just see the second test case which has been given.
Okay. Now you have this 2, 3, 5. You have 7, you have 8, then 7. Right. So what's the confusion? Okay, you want me to do a dry run on this?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, in this particular, you have two possible options, right? Because now you still have 5, and you have to use the entire schedule in this case. So either you can use 7 from Goose or 7 from Maverick. The next
Why not 8 from this? Okay.
Because you have 5 days, right?
Okay.
There's this
Okay.
controlling schedule that you have to use these many days. You have to utilize the in this particular, because Maverick has given availability for 2 days and Goose has given you the availability for 3 days, and the entire project has lasting for 5 days. You have to use the entire data set.
Yes.
Making sense?
Yes.
So you'll have to take this from here. Now this again could be from Goose or Maverick. The one comes from Goose. 5 from Goose. Any confusion on this? If you have, do have any examples, we can go through it again. Meaning, think of any examples where you are, any of the test cases you might have built for your purposes. We can go through that. Do a dry run.
It's okay now. It's okay now. It's clear.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sure. So there are no confusions as to what is the idea behind this. What you have is the number of days for which each friend is available, and within each array, meaning with each element of that array accounts for the number of hours that the friend is going to contribute to the project.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. However, having said that, Neha, I do agree that this could we'll try to capture the intent much more precisely and crisply as much as possible in the upcoming assignments.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So Neha, just hello, Neha.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I just visit this Google forum. I am not able to find any query related which you mentioned.
Oh, it may. I'm not giving it. It may be from one of the students.
But still, this type of query.
They are not getting answers. That I'm saying.
Okay, and just which you mentioned that some questions are wrong in the practice assignment. Just can you post that question number on the any forum Discord?
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we will check that. Okay, thanks.
So any before I stop sharing my screen, does anyone have any questions with regards to the week 3 assignment? Question 2. Okay, I'll take silence as no.
Yes, now.
Thanks, everyone. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Pushpin. Thanks, Anna. So if anyone have any query related to any assignments or any problem or understanding the problem statement, anything, so just post your query on the any forum. Okay, so Discord forum or this Google forum. So we will just visit the forum and we'll try to answer that queries. Okay, so apart from this feedback form, so just try to just post on the forum first. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Any query from anyone? Okay. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.